Throughout history, certain events have shaped our world in ways that go far beyond their immediate impact. November 22nd, 1963. September 11th, 2001. March 2020. Each moment marked not just by tragedy, but by the questions that followed. The Warren Commission, the 9/11 Commission, emergency powers that became permanent. From Dallas to New York to global lockdowns, patterns emerge for those willing to look. The same institutions, the same responses, the same consolidation of power. Recent events continue this trajectory. Butler, Pennsylvania, Manhattan's streets, each incident followed by familiar narratives, familiar solutions. Meanwhile, in boardrooms from Davos to Bilderberg, the world's most powerful gather behind closed doors. Central banks coordinate policy. Intelligence agencies share resources. Global forums set agendas that nations follow. The World Economic Forum speaks of stakeholder capitalism. The Bilderberg Group meets in secrecy. Ancient orders maintain their influence. Some call it conspiracy, others call it coordination. But the connections are there, documented and undeniable. The question isn't whether these networks exist, it's whether we're brave enough to acknowledge their influence on the world we inhabit. The dots are there. We just have to be willing to connect them.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is our first of hopefully many Sunday night streams. Hopefully, I'll be able to get into a regular schedule and we can use Sundays to talk about a variety of things. But what I would like to try to do going forward on, for example, for a Sunday thing, or if I end up doing a Wednesday night birdie after party type thing, is have a couple of general topics to touch on. And then, as always, we can open up to other discussions and things like that. So, while everybody's filing in, I'm just gonna sort of go over a couple of the things that we can discuss tonight. But we can branch off, we can talk about different things. There's never a shortage of things to talk about. So a couple of the things I was thinking about, since I know a lot of the people are interested in the Idaho 4 case, we can kind of call back to earlier times in the case and think about what your top theory is. Now, we all know what the major sort of main thread theories are, but I'd be curious just to see, what people think up to this point, seeing everything we've seen, where people are at with the case, what their theories are. Now, we can just to simplify it, we can speak more about what you think the most likely main theory is, because I'm sure that everyone's theory has branches to it where it gets more granular, but we can touch on what the more likely broader theories are. And then also we'll touch a little more on the whole aliens thing. And is it a psyop? Or somebody told me in the comments on one of the videos that my theory that I don't believe that there are aliens was silly. Now, I've clarified it on streams before that I'm talking about the way it's being presented to us by the powers that be. I don't buy their framing of it. So I've definitely been sort of pretty clear, I thought, about that. We can touch on the Epstein stuff. We've talked about it before. I certainly have in the past. Um, so yeah, let's say hello to some people. All right, no talkie before coffee. She says, what's going on, Stadies? Welcome. My handler is here. Sean Marie, what's up? Welcome. Formerly known as Beck. Everybody knows formerly known as Beck, one of the great Birdie Bombshells mods. And Altruistic Murder, what's up? Welcome. All right. Let's see. Story Keeper, what's up? Welcome. All right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you were able to catch the live. I'm going to get on a more consistent schedule as much as possible. It's just the weekends are wacky. I had a gig last night, and so certain nights I'll know in advance usually, but sometimes on the weekends the nights might not always be the same nights every week. That's why it'd be cool if I can get into a schedule where we do like a Wednesday night after Birdie stream, something like that. Yeah, we can touch on the Epstein stuff. All right. Story Keeper says I was today old when I found out Candace Owens' husband is BFF with Andrew Tate. What a shocker. Everything's connected. Mumrad, what's up? Welcome. Miss Mellis, 75, what's up? Welcome. Do you think it has anything to do with cryptocurrency, rug trafficking, money laundering? Which part? Which one are you referring to? Epstein or uh, let me know, clarify that, and I'll touch on that. I would argue everything's probably connected to all of those things at this point. All right, Robot Glock, what's up? Welcome. A Western Washington Yeti did it, of course. All right. It's Brad Harris. What's up? Welcome. Good to see you. All right. Yeah, good people are filing in. Hopefully, the good troll. Welcome back. Good to see you. Yeah, was it Friday night? It's a 5-hour stream, man. That was crazy. I wasn't even looking at the time, and before I knew it, we were rolling up into 5 hours. All right. Shells 7345. Sweet. I just happened to subscribe literally minutes ago. Then your stream appeared when I got back to the main menu. Glad I made it. We're glad you made it too. Thank you for popping in. No closer to one of the families. So we'll go through. We'll have like segments. So we could start out with whatever you guys want. Either we'll kind of take the temperature of the deep state and see if we want to touch on the alien thing or the Idaho 4 thing first, and then we could talk about the Epstein stuff as well. Time flies anymore. No, time does fly. E-Potty was saying, I think it was E-Potty at one point, talking about time, how time has sped up. There's E-Potty. What's up? Oh, sorry, I took you off the screen. I didn't mean to do that. Welcome back, man. Um, so the whole time thing, because perception is a very significant thing with basically everything, how we perceive things. And so it's possible that our perception of time has shifted. And I wouldn't put it past the intelligence agencies to try to manipulate people in ways that would warp their perception of time because they seem to use us as lab rats. So that wouldn't surprise me at all. Yvette, KC, what's up? Welcome. Yeah, there's a lot of bigger idea topics that I think a lot of us are tapped into. I think it just seems to be in certain online spaces. Have you noticed like a lot of these things that, let's just use the true crime community that's more dissident to the official narrative, they all seem to be tapped into some of the bigger picture stuff, the Epstein files and, you know, the big cases, the high profile cases that seem to be used to manipulate us. Um, and so that's why I think that stuff is connected. And I've been saying for a long time, these high profile cases, I always try to look at them and I always look at what's really going on. Whenever something's being shoved down the public's throat, I tend to try to pay attention to other things and zoom out. Shells 7345, what's up? Probably shaved a minute off every hour on the world clock and manipulated it to sync with the world's clocks. Look, I wouldn't be surprised because manipulation seems to be what they love to do most. What's up? Good to see you, Leah. Southern Hospitality True Crime. Check out Leah's channel. Welcome back. I'm glad you were able to catch it. I was you posted the other day that you were doing a live at 10 p.m. and I asked what time zone. And you must not have seen that. Lisa Marie, what's up? Welcome back. And we'll get some people on stage too tonight as well. We want to like open things up. People, I don't think people have any reason, of course, to be reluctant to come up on stage and chat. It's all good here. We're all just regular peeps. Yeah, I know. I would have tried to make it. I didn't get home until later that night. So I might not have been able to make it anyway, but I was curious because where are you located, Leah? I'm just curious because then I'll have an idea of what time zone you're talking about. Neuro Spicy, what's up? Glad you made it. And we try not to go too far off the rails in the sense that we want to have, I know everybody's got a lot of interests and it's hard sometimes to get to everything. So let's just say this. Tell me what you guys think about this. So we'll focus on three discussions tonight. We'll talk about the Idaho 4 people's main theories that they are most confident in right now. We'll talk about the alien thing. I won't go too much into the alien thing because that really needs to be a whole separate discussion. And then we can talk about the Epstein thing. I know a little bit about the Epstein thing because I followed Whitney Webb on that topic and her books that she wrote and stuff. So I know a little bit of the background and what it's actually connected to as opposed to what they present to us. And like I talked about in the last stream, it was a long one, so you may not remember, is that there's a official narrative, a counter official narrative that's really an official narrative that keeps people locked into this dichotomy of two things that they can argue over. If you really do the digging, you'll see that who Epstein was connected to was actually above the intelligence agencies. Some people in the chat I spoke about it once knew that. So they knew exactly what I was talking about. Kristen in Seattle, what's up? One of my buddies who's originally from Seattle lived in Colorado for many, many years. He moved back to Seattle. I don't remember, maybe like 3, 4 years ago, and he just moved back to Colorado. He's looking for a house in Colorado now, but he's originally from Seattle. Oprah, oh, as a topic, Robot Glock, is that what you're saying? Because my theory is that if you're a billionaire, you're all part of this same club. It's a network of elites. And if you're in the entertainment industry, you are useful to the power structure. And in my opinion, that's how people get rich because they're used by the power structure. And because they are useful, they get rich. All right. It's good to see. Hey, Brandon Rudder, what's up? Sylvia Hurley, what's up? I'm glad you made it. Nova Scotia, Canada. Cool. Brandon Rudder, what's up, dude? You represent the Borg's childs, huh? Oh man. My handler needs to keep me focused sometimes because I can easily get sidetracked and go on tangents. Kristen in Seattle. Seattle is horrible. Born and raised. It was great growing up here with all the grungers, all tech now. Look, Colorado has gone that same route. I've talked about it a lot. I've never been to Seattle. I've been to Portland a few times. I've always been fascinated with Seattle because I was a huge fan of the grunge scene. Huge fan. I mean, to this day, I still watch documentaries about the grunge scene and what influenced it. And yeah, Colorado, Neurospicy. Oh man, I don't know what your stance is on what's happening in Colorado. I've had theories about it. We could we could talk about that too. We can get into that as well. I don't want to get too deep into any one topic yet. We can kind of just, you know, chit chat for a little bit. Yeah, Mudhoney, hugely influential band, influenced Pearl Jam and influenced all those Seattle bands, but they were extremely influential. And the punk scene also, uh, Black Flag, bands like that influenced a lot of those grunge bands. The Rollins Band, but I was always fascinated with Seattle. I still talk. Kristen in Seattle says I still talk to the ones who have lived to talk about the grunge scene. I actually I like digging into stuff that I'm interested in, even if I already know a lot about it. Sometimes it's interesting because it's information that you're interested in. So I enjoy. hearing about it or if I find a new documentary. I was, I would say, um, I look at Pearl Jam as more of a rock band that was lumped in with the grunge thing. Um, they were influenced by punk, obviously, but the bands to me that were like the real grunge bands were like of the popular ones that everybody knows: Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. Soundgarden was really like hard rock. The people from the from that area used to laugh at the whole grunge label. Kiss Me Where I Pee. What's up? Welcome back. Hey, Kristen in Seattle. Do you know anything about? Um, I just had a question I wanted to ask. Turkey Creek Gal, what's up? Welcome back. I was just thinking something popped into my head about the Seattle scene. I'll get it back. I'll bring it up when I think of it again. STP. Oh, sorry, I missed that one. Motoman Mac, Motoman MX. I always want to say Motoman Max. What's up? Welcome back, dude. Holy shit. BLZ 03. You're in Iceland. Welcome. STP was a California band, Tommy Boy. Welcome. And they got lumped in with the grunge scene just because they kind of came out around the same time and had sort of darker themes in their music. And I guess you could say they were kind of sort of part of that scene, but they got lumped in with it for sure. They had like different influences, um, you know, that were probably more from the glam rock world than in the punk world. But, they played music, I guess, that could be compared to the grunge thing. I liked STP also. I was one of my very close friends knew Scott Weiland, and when he was in Velvet Revolver, they were playing a New Year's Eve show in Jersey, and we got VIP tickets. And I have to say, the show sucked because don't ask me why a promoter would do this. This is New Year's Eve at a club. It wasn't a small club, but it's still a club, decent sized club. On New Year's Eve, they had a comedian and like a dancer open up for STP on New Year's Eve, and the crowd was flat when STP came on. I mean, Velvet Revolver, rather, which I never understood why they did that, but it was just a very flat and dry show. The crowd was terrible. And what do you expect? You have a comedian and a dancer open the show. Yeah, I'm a Gen Xer also. And let's see. I was a latchkey kid. And, it was like you've all heard the Gen X narrative a million times. It was like very, you were kind of had to be independent. So you were, as long as you were home before dark and you could you could run around in your neighborhood and stuff like that. And then the nice thing about that time was, I'll give you, like, think about this, the grunge scene as an example. That whole scene in today's world probably wouldn't have existed in the same way because that was an organic scene that developed out of bands, playing in their basement or their garage, and the styles developed based on their influences. It wasn't based on an algorithm. And then it just took off organically. Lulu, what's up? Welcome. But yeah, the music used to develop more uh, organically. Now it's all algorithm driven. And there's plenty of good music out there. It's just, we probably shouldn't get me started about music because it'll derail the whole thing. I wasn't a huge Velvet Revolver fan or anything like that, but because I liked Guns N' Roses and I liked STP, it was a no-brainer. Yeah. I mean, you guys know I'll talk about music all night, so if I start going on tangents about music, I blame the Stadies for that. Cheers, everybody. I sang in a couple of grunge cover bands, one in Florida when I was in my 20s, and then one that was like a pretty diverse bar band that played all kinds of music. That's a chick drink. I had a few glasses of wine last night, and I can't drink like I used to, so I was feeling a little groggy today. Um, Moto Man MX says, "Don't say derail." Oh wait, I'm terrible with every time I go to click on a comment. My handler's gonna do that too, but she knows that I have ADD and I click on stuff. What's up, Foxy? But it's the beginning of the stream, still kind of, right? Yeah, it's sort of the beginning. I like to try to like check everybody out in the chat. Green Eclectic Mama Blog 8, what's up? Yeah, grunge music is fun. It's fun because the music, I would say, with the exception of, well, there's different exceptions. Soundgarden's music was tougher to play. It was like off time and the riffs were not straightforward necessarily. Nirvana stuff is generally pretty easy. Some of Pearl Jam stuff is more complex. But the punk ethos was really, you know, stripped down, simple music. All right. I'm glad to see a bunch of people. Oh, Lenny Moe, good to see you. Welcome back. And we can talk about also if we want to like take some polls and get some feedback. I'm sure we'll do that. And all right, so let's get into it right now. Do you guys want to discuss? Tell me what you want to discuss first. So, number one in the chat for Idaho for our personal most likely theory. Number two, the alien thing. Is it? And then we'll qualify once we get into the alien thing. But aliens, are there really aliens from other galaxies visiting us, or is it a psyop? That's the second topic. The third would be the Epstein thing. So, so be Idaho 4, aliens, and Epstein thing. I see twos so far. Two and three, Moto Man. Um, three, I see Epstein is more twos so far. A couple of threes. A lot of, okay. Bunny Murphy, what's up? Good to see you. The most obscure band I was into was called Flicker Stick, which reminds me of a certain Idaho 4 cat. Fiddlesticks? Was it Fiddlesticks? Love Tina. I see. What's up? Good to see you. All right. So I think I saw more number twos so far. Um, and and then we can, if you guys want, after we touch on this stuff, we can talk about music because I could talk about music all night. But all right, so let's just touch on first. I'll tell you guys my take on the alien thing, and then we'll get the feedback from the chat. I think that I used to believe, just based on a logical thought experiment, all right, with so many different, you know, galaxies and the massive size of the universe and everything we don't know, that there must be uh, intelligent life somewhere. Now, I definitely believe there's life on other planets, right? But that's very different. So, life forms than a sophisticated, technologically advanced, intelligent life form that has the desire and capacity to visit other planets. Now, my my theories and my ideas about it have changed over the years because I started to see that a lot of the theories that were being presented about the potential for, an intelligent life form that has the technology that's far advanced from what we have was based on mathematical equations, probability based on the galaxies and so on and so forth, how far away they are and all that. And and I started to think, all right, humans are very sort of we're very egocentric. So we think, well, we have all this technology and we have an ecosystem that supports life here. So there has to be other ones that are similar that are just older and more advanced than us. But that's if you get into the like logic, actual logic experiment, in some ways I believe it's a flawed logic. I think it is possible that we just happen to be in with, the Goldilocks zone that enabled development and evolution of ideas and technology and for life to develop and humans to develop. So I don't necessarily think that automatically means that there must be galaxies far away that are much more advanced than us. There's just because a planet or a part of the universe is older, it doesn't mean that they developed at the same pace and or have accelerated development and therefore more advanced technology. And people, I understand people like they're locked in to what they believe. But then you take how the whole alien thing has been shoved down our throats, and it always is when they're trying to distract us from things. Why? If that's really a thing, and there's now, I believe in the possibility of multi dimensions that we just don't have the technology and ability to study or measure. That's very different than advanced aliens, from a planet in another galaxy far away. That's a different thing. So, Mumrad, Drake's equation, I'm not familiar with that. I am not an expert on, the advanced mathematical theory and all that stuff, or string theory and all that kind of stuff. I have like a cursory understanding of it. But I just think that, remember, because the reason I started talking about the alien thing is because it was being shoved down our throat in the news and on the, all kinds of online platforms. So, in the way that they're trying to shove it down our throats, I don't buy it. I don't think it's what they're trying to imply that it is. So let's get some feedback on that. That's a little short version of my take on it. So I like to, people throw up some ideas if you guys would like. Um, all right, we got to stay on topic, man, because you guys are going to distract me, and my ADD brain is going to go off on a tangent. Yeah, the drones were in the like over New Jersey, and that was one of the areas that had a lot of that. And look, I can tell you what the drones were for, in my opinion, since it's connected to the whole alien thing. In my opinion, it was a couple of main reasons for all the drones. Obviously, that was not a foreign country. It was DARPA, probably the military, CIA, and they were doing a few things. Number one, distraction, to have that in the news all the time. Whenever there's fuckery going on in the background, they always throw up distractions. Number two, they were probably trying to groom people to accept seeing drones flying around because they want a surveillance state. And so they drip things out. So people push back at first. Oh my God, what's going on? What's all this? And that way, over time, people start to accept it. And I think that was part of it as well. They want a mass surveillance state. So, in my opinion, that is kind of what that was all about. Lovely me, what's up? I've had a few people tell me that. I schedule the lives. Lovely me says my notification did not pop off. What the fuck? That is the second time this has happened to me. Hey, JJ, in my deepest state. Thanks for popping in. Welcome back. Yeah, right. Tommy boy, aliens only the government knows about aliens. There's not millions of people, around the world that would increase the likelihood of seeing something. And then it's always potato cam videos that the government has. It's they're laughing at us, guys. I'm telling you, they're laughing at us. Lulu, we had a weird encounter when I was a child, and my mom still talks about it. Late at night, our whole house lit up from an outside source, and it lasted about 30 seconds, just us. You know what? It's funny you say that because I just started watching yesterday. I haven't seen it in a million years. The Phenomenon with John Travolta, with that flash of light that comes down from the sky. Maybe that's what happened to you. Did you have superpowers after that? I don't know why some people aren't getting notifications. I schedule it normally. It shows up as upcoming in my YouTube channel. Vanilla Cenobite. How you doing? Welcome in. Simulation theory. I guess we could talk about whatever you guys want. We don't have to stick with one thing. It's up to you guys. I think it's horseshit, simulation theory. I think that the oligarchs and the elites would love for citizens to be convinced that it's all a simulation. Because hey, if it's a simulation, hey, let the oligarchs do whatever they want. It's just a simulation. It's all fake. I think it's a form of gaslighting, and I think it's a psychological operation. So I don't believe in simulation theory whatsoever. Again, it's based on mathematical equations. Who created math? Unless you think aliens created it, humans created math. Now look, it's complicated. I mean, I've seen stuff too, but in my opinion, Mumrad, there's weather balloons, there's satellites, there's military testing, and I tend to believe that's mostly what people see because the technology that we have is decades behind what the military and the intelligence agencies have. So, yeah, I mean, simulation theory is one that was circulating for a while. I don't buy it. I don't think it has I think we're living in a illusion like a matrix that's been created by the power structure, but I don't think it's a simulation in the way that people have framed it in the past. I mean, I think if you, sweet Melissa, what's up? Welcome back. I think if you really, so you hit the notification button and you still didn't get a notification because you have to hit the notification little bell thing. Moto Man, think about it. A psychological operation might as well be the same thing as a simulation because if you can get people, if you can manipulate their behavior with psychological operations, in my opinion, it's basically the same thing as a simulation. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I've said this before. I've been shadow banned on multiple platforms because of the things I talk about. And I don't try to divide people. I try to unite people, and they hate that. They hate people like me. So I don't know. Maybe I'm paranoid, but I think that the power structure gains power if they can make people believe that what's really going on is so beyond their realm of understanding. So you got to rely and trust the experts. Rely on them. They'll protect you from the aliens. They'll tell you what you need to do. I don't know. Lovely me. I mean, you can always, if you're talking about the YouTube, you can, I'm sure you can pop right back into the live. Shells, I recall when they first started the COVID mandatory mask, BS, I'm sure is what you meant. It was a plan for some sort of facial recognition. Look, all the world's a stage. Everything that they try to manipulate people into doing is not for the benefit of humanity. In my opinion, it should be pretty obvious by now. I mean, we get the COVID thing is a whole rabbit hole of things. Um, to me, it was extremely obvious from day one, and that's just. I mean, that was a dark time in our history because so many people didn't realize what was really going on. And I was saying from day one that, okay, so Lee is in Eastern time. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of things with what happened. Look, I won't get into it tonight. I have gotten into it before. My theory on it. Yeah, I would agree. Poetic justice, what's up? Welcome. I think, yeah, I think there's truth to that. I mean, think about it. You can go online on different various platforms. You can find many videos of these global elite types, these globalist people, the World Economic Forum types, and so on, and politicians talking about reducing the population. They have openly stated what they want to do. Um, it's, I mean, straight up. But the problem is, normies don't follow anything that's not shoved down their throat by the mainstream media. So they don't go and do research. They just say, oh, that's a crazy conspiracy theory. I mean, it's been talked about for a very long time what they want, what the Great Reset lays it all out, and everything that's laid out in the Great Reset is happening now. The stakeholder capital, where a small group of powerful elites and extremely wealthy people own everything, and then us peasants have to lease it from them, where they control every aspect of our lives, a surveillance state. They talk about this in the Great Reset book. The World Economic Forum has talked about this forever. Now, I can also say, are they really just trying to create all these things for people to push back against? Because I think spiritually that messes with people. Yeah, it is crimes against humanity. It was, I mean, I, we will derail the whole stream if I start talking about that. We should do a stream about it, and just to fuck with the algorithm, we'll have code words for what we're referring to. Yeah, the flock. Okay, I don't know if I've mentioned this. Where I live, literally my town, is doing the flock cameras. And it was a big thing in the local paper. Somebody knocked down one of the poles with the flock camera, and there was like thousands of comments cheering them on. Listen, we are at a time where they're not working for us. It should, I mean, there's no question about it. Just look at what's happening. Look at the series of things that have happened. None of what's been happening in the last 6 years is the will of the people. They make you believe that a critical mass of people in the world, or in America, or wherever you are, want what they're pushing, but it's all a psyop. And if you divide people, then you can get people on one quote unquote side to go along with agendas if they think the other quote unquote side is against it because of tribalism. Yeah, I mean, the flock camera shit is Snooper, what's up? The flock camera stuff is, I mean, this is the Great Reset. Literally, people stopped talking about the Great Reset online. Literally, go through the World Economic Forum, their agendas, the Agenda 2030, 2050. Everything that's happening now is to the letter of what they have been pushing for a long time. And because they're able to distract people so much and divide people so much, they're able to get away with more of it. So much for having set topics to talk about. Damn, you guys. Yeah, I mean, do you guys know who Dr. Robert Malone is? Now, he could be an operative, controlled opposition. It's very possible. But he had at one point said that, of course, they have a depopulation program. Of course. Like, if you're the rulers of the world and the the people who really run countries, of course you have that in place. If you deem it better for the greater good or the bigger plans that they have for us peasants to reduce the population, then they're going to do that. It's just a dark thing to think about. Yeah, Brandon, he was one of the guys who had some patents for the mRNA shots, the actual technology, mRNA technology. So he could be controlled opposition. I'm at the point now, and it's not great. It's not great. I don't trust anybody that has a high profile. I mean, he was deemed to be like a COVID whistleblower in some respects, but again, could he be controlled opposition? That's the question. Yeah. Mark and Betty, what's up? Good to see you. Look, it was a bad time for me because of what I was going through personally. Moto Man, you can come up, dude. We'll get my handler to drop the link in the chat. You can jump up. I mean, I see. Here's the thing I wanted to say because I see, a lot of people making all kinds of comments about things. When I've been on different streams, Moto Man, I'll pull you up in just a sec. When I've been on different streams, you can only get so detailed into each topic. You can't, I can't go off on a topic and talk for 3 hours on somebody else's stream about certain topics. So I've talked about a lot of this stuff. I want to bring Moto Man up. What's up, man? You hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you. How are you, man?
Good. How you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Just a little tired.
Right on. What do you got,
Well,
man? Talk to me.
I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I can go for hours on any of these topics.
Well, let's do this. Since I don't want to get into the COVID stuff too much because that should be a whole entire stream basically with data and with, where it's prepared because that's a big one. I mean, that's the whole world that affected. What's your take on the Epstein thing, the Epstein files and whatnot?
I think honestly, the whole Epstein thing. I'm convinced that he was done in by Bill Gates. I honestly think he was done in by Bill Gates. I think Bill Gates had everything to do with that, and I think he admitted it when he was. I think when he was either on Fox or CNN in that
Yeah, I saw
interview.
that. I know the interview you're talking about. He goes, "Well, he's dead," or he kind of, a lot of people talked about that. Um,
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. I originally, after like reading Whitney Webb's material about it, she did like two books about Epstein, and she did a 2-volume series called One Nation Under Blackmail. But she goes way back. She goes all the way back to when the U.S. intelligence paired up with the mob because they wanted to control the ports, and the mob controlled a lot of the ports. And she goes way, way back. Her reading is not, it's not like a fun read. It's very dense. But then the more you dig, the more you see that the prevailing theory about who he actually Epstein worked for is the Rothschild family, which is why he's above governments. He's above the intelligence agencies. That's why he was really never gotten any trouble. Because if if you look at historically, I mean, this is like stuff that anybody can verify. The Rothschild family has been for centuries, really, the dominant power family in the world. I mean, they founded Israel. It was them that and Britain that basically created the state of Israel, and they're connected to the global banking structure forever. And supposedly and this is what I believe too. If you have somebody that nobody wants to admit who they worked for, but yet we're being told, oh, it was CIA, it was Mossad. Chances are it's neither of those things, because they don't want who they really work for or who they really represented to even get into the public sphere. So this is my take based on what I know about him. And so I don't think he's dead. I don't think when you work for the most powerful family in the world, you're going to be at risk, because Bill Gates is just a tool for the elites. He's just a guy he pushes agendas that they want. And that's how he got rich, in my opinion. And that's how Elon Musk has gotten so wealthy, because they're pushing these agendas on behalf of the global elites. That's just my take. What do you think about that?
Well, first of all, I think Bill Gates is a powerful person because his software is installed in, you know, millions and millions, probably billions of computers around the world. I mean, he has the ability to essentially spy on anybody he likes. I
Right.
mean, to have software that's, that well connected and such thoroughly used through business and just, develop and it's used to develop millions of different apps. I mean, it's kind of like a virus in itself. But the simple fact is, I mean, all these intelligence agencies, they would suck up to a company like that because that's their backdoor into the world, right?
Sure.
So when you start talking about that sort of stuff and, child trafficking, you get into whatever, right? I mean, what rings would that man know about that
Yeah.
nobody else would, or nobody else would have the power to know about?
Well, the thing is, this is why I think Bill Gates is given so much leeway with the things that he has been involved in, is because he is useful to the global power structure, which includes the intelligence networks around the world. Like he's involved in the tech industry in a way that he's, like you said, he's infiltrated every aspect of it with all the platforms, because corporations all use Microsoft stuff. And so I think he is where he is because he is very useful to the elites. Now, there's levels to everything, right? I mean, there's billionaire level, and then there's global elite level, which is the ancient families, the ancient bloodlines, the connections that have been there for centuries. And I think people like Elon Musk, who's all his businesses have contracts with the government, the military, and intelligence, he's useful to them. So I think that there are people, in my opinion, it's just based on what I've learned, that those guys are these billionaires, they're super powerful, they get away with anything, right? They never get prosecuted for anything. Antitrust violations, you name it, they never get in trouble because they're useful to the power structure, in my opinion. And like you said, Intel has backdoor access to everything, every platform. Like they were doing it. It was proven with Facebook and the Twitter files, but they're still doing that. There's no chance they abolish that.
No,
Do you think that
absolutely not.
shit's still going on? I do.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean, they're never going to stop spying. I mean, are you kidding me? They never
No.
stop because of Twitter. They never stop because Elon Musk created X.
Right.
All that is a distraction,
Yeah, I
so you forget
agree.
about it.
I totally
It's a
agree.
misdirection.
Yeah, and I talk about distraction operations all the time. It's like there's people like to get into like, oh, well, this happened because of it's this or it's that. And I go, yeah, it could be that, but it could also just be flooding the zone with things to distract the public. You know,
So, JJ, I don't know how if you did you ever see that movie Enemy of the State?
oh yeah, I just rewatched it like last week.
Honestly, that what year was that made? It was like 95, 96, something like that.
Yeah, it was 90s, pretty sure.
Yeah. So think about it. Back in the 90s, they knew what was coming. They knew what the the state of technology was back then and what direction it was headed. Listen, they've been pushing to go this direction since probably Desert Storm, okay? Because once they have control over, well, once they have control of the media, once they have they know what the public wants at their every move, their every desire, what they buy online. Once they have that control, why do you think the Arab Spring happened when it did? The Arab Spring happened right when digital media became uh, it became synonymous with everybody's everyday life. That's how they use. That's how they controlled all those proxy wars.
Yeah.
It's the rabbit hole goes so deep, but it's been in front of our face the entire time. They didn't have to hide it because they knew we'd eat it up like dinner.
Yeah, and also then you think about the whole concept of predictive programming, right? If you
Yeah.
trickle out information, like I call it grooming. So you groom the public with ideas, and I believe they do this and have for a very long time. So that way they start to, even if it's only subconscious, people start to accept ideas in the background. And if you could do that over time, then you can groom the public to, they basically normalize this shit.
I don't know if you ever remember. I don't know if you ever looked into this guy or heard of this guy, but remember David Icke?
Oh yeah, I have one of his books.
He was the first guy I ever started watching conspiracies about, like, or listening about conspiracies. And you know, the one thing that he said to me that always stuck with me, it's problem, reaction, solution.
Yeah.
It was that thing, and you know, ever since he mentioned that, when you watch the news, you see the current events, he's right.
Yeah.
It's all about control. They
Yeah, and
create a problem, they come up with a solution, and then they control the narrative, they control the population.
sure. I mean, create a crisis and then give people the solution to the crisis. I mean, so people beg for it, right? So this is what I've been talking about a lot
Well,
lately with
COVID
the
was the perfect COVID was the perfect uh, example of that. Think about it. They created a crisis, something that couldn't be stopped, but yet it was no more dangerous than the common flu. Oh, and then they came up with a solution. Oh, the vaccine. Oh, and guess what? The solution with the vaccine is okay. Everybody gets a stab. Okay, so how many people's DNA profile did you get from that?
Yeah, I agree. I think
No.
that, yeah, I agree. I mean, I was calling it out from day one and I got demonized and shit on where I lived because I was very vocal. Everybody online is pushing to get it. And I was just like, it's a fucking experimental drug. And you're pushing it like you know shit about trial. I went to college. I know how they lie with the trial data and of all these clinical trials. But yet, people are easily manipulated. That's just a simple fact. And with all of the predictive programming, I see it. I notice it when I watch movies and TV or I read a book. I can tell when they're steering, even if it's subtly. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? Like how they insert narratives into TV shows and movies, and even if it's very subtle, because they're trying. Most people, and this is not an insult to anybody. Most people living their life, whatever. They don't understand how you can be manipulated really strategically. So it's not overt. They do it. That's what predictive programming is. Just start planting things into the public consciousness so they get to the point where when it rolls out, they try to normalize it.
Yeah.
And
No. Absolutely.
and that movie, it's so funny you brought it up because I watched it, fucking forever ago, and I rewatched it like within the last 2 weeks. And so what they're doing with that is, see how they had in the beginning the politician who didn't want to, you know, and give them the ability to invade people's privacy and all that, and the whole Snowden thing. They're basically They're telling you this is what's coming, right? And so you would think, of course, there's going to be people, some will say, there's no way, we're never going to tolerate that. Then some people will say, no, they're not really doing that. There's no way that they could get away with that. But it still plants the idea into people's heads that it's an idea. It's an
It almost makes
idea.
people comfortable with the idea of that, right? Because it's not a shock when it actually happens. Because they've seen it before, but they don't know where they've seen it because they probably forgot about the movie 10 years
Yeah.
ago, right?
Yeah. No, it's like what, 20 years ago at this point.
Yeah, actually, yeah, my bad.
So it's, yeah. And so I talk about this a lot with predictive programming because there's certain movies. I'll give you an example. Zero Dark 30, which is rumored to be in some spaces a CIA produced propaganda film, which I believe it is. They're telling you, oh, here's the official narrative, the Bin Laden raid, and this is what happened, and they, oh, look at these heroes and this. Look at how many shows right now are on the streaming platforms about the CIA. There's probably a dozen. They're
Yeah.
trying to whitewash the CIA and make them appear like they're just this regular agency that deals with national security for our protection, because they know more people are waking up to the shit that goes on with the intelligence agencies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could go on about this shit forever.
Yeah, me
I,
too, man. Me
I,
too. But
I
I want to see
it,
if anybody else wants to jump up
all right.
as well,
Thanks
because
for
you and
letting me
I,
talk.
we could talk for 3 hours about this shit, I'm
Yeah.
sure. But thanks for coming up, man.
Yeah, anytime.
All right, brother. Take care. All right. So anybody want to jump up? Genuinely confused. Genuinely confused. Yeah, it took me a second. The capitalization of the U screwed me up. Hello. Yeah, oh, Bin Laden, let's come on, guys. We're never told the truth. I hope everybody knows that. It's you guys know that. Please, I know you guys know that. We're never going to get the truth from the power structure. We're just sheeple, and they want to just steer us where they want, and they know that most people don't think too much about this stuff, and that's fine. They keep us struggling, and they've steered us into a situation where, all right, this brings me to, see, we didn't even touch on half the shit that I said we were going to talk about, but this brings me to an idea that I had today. I think people will be interested in this. Think about the technology that we have. I have a theory that the power structure has technology that basically is able to aggregate the financial information of the whole world, all the population of the world. And they have it all through, because everybody's shit is online. What you buy, everything you do, you have to sign up for this and auto pay and this and that and the other. So they have AI that tracks the the global expenses that, and I'm sure it's broken down in very sophisticated ways. And they look at what people have in their bank accounts. They look at what their expenses are. They look at what their income is. And they always, this is just my theory, and they always make sure that if you're not a super wealthy person, you're always just getting by. So you're doing okay. You could, let's say you're paying your mortgage, you have your car payment, or whatever toys you might have, and whatever credit cards you have, whether Best Buy or this or that or the other. And they always manipulate the markets. So it always keeps people just getting by enough to live with some level of comfort. But I believe that they don't allow people to, what's up, Philly girl? They don't allow people to really get ahead unless you're already wealthy. Guts and Black Powder fan, what's up? Welcome. Um, so, I think that they're tracking everything we do. They know everybody's financial situation. I'm sure they have it all broken down by segments of the population and regionally. I'm sure they do. So they always manipulate prices and gas prices and food prices and what everything costs to always keep us just getting by but comfortable enough not to revolt. No talkie before coffee. Here's the thing. This has been talked about a lot. The big one is the tax revolt, right? But the problem is people don't really know how much power they have collectively. And the division that we have seen, the divide and conquer, very obvious divide and conquer strategies we have seen, is to keep people from uniting and saying, you know what, we're not taking this shit. We're not paying our taxes. We're not going to go along with this corrupt system. Yeah, I mean, Lulu, it's like, I think there are levels though. See, I'm not talking about people that are well off. The people that are really wealthy, I'm talking about wealthy. They're outside of that system. They control that system because they have their portfolios that drive that bigger banking system. Regular people, even people that would be like at the top of the income level, for most people, yes, they're able to get ahead a little bit more because it's just an economies of scale thing. They have more resources to somewhat break out of that. But for most regular people, if you look at median income and I don't know what you call them, the quartiles on either side of the median income, those are the people that are targeted because that's most people. They think about it. Why would they do that? Because if the majority of the people are afraid to lose their income or take any chances or push back, it keeps the powerful able to do what they're doing. Yeah, they're building a prison. I mean, this has been going on for a while. All you had to do is go to the 70s and look at the rate of the median income rise versus the rate of the cost of living rise. They're not even close. The lines completely diverge. And in my opinion, that's all by design. And I remember there was an article a long time ago in the Wall Street Journal that only 5% of the population actually rises out of their socioeconomic strata. So this American dream, we're going to do an episode on that coming up, probably in the next week. Uh, it's it's all it's a game. It's all a game. Yeah, people are too afraid to revolt. Sorry, I just pulled that down. Could you do that? Put that up again, Philly? I apologize. People are too afraid to revolt. As a nation, we are too dependent on our government, be it federal or state. Yeah, and I get asked a lot, well, what do we do about it? And I've said I'm going to talk about it. Most people probably know this. You have to start at the local level and push back. So, for example, the flock cameras. If they get spammed with emails and phone calls, then they can't pretend that people are supporting it. So it needs to start small. And people have been conditioned to disengage from trying to. Now, I don't believe in the political system. I think the further up you go, state and federal, it's all corrupt. But on a local level, you can do little things. And I believe that once people do little things and try to find groups that think similarly to you, it empowers you. And I've talked about it before. I think that has a, it's in a weird way, it kind of spreads. What's up, Foxy? Okay, good. Relax, Foxy. Beer is good. Mark and Betty, there's a reason there are autistic or autism, wherever you call it nowadays, because of babies getting, yeah, of course. Come on, man. You were never getting the truth. They make many hundreds of billions of dollars on medical treatments. Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. I think that they want us all pissed off and fighting and frustrated, and you have to balance being activated and trying to do your little things that you can do. But part of it is an awakening. If you enjoy your life, they want us miserable and fighting. And that's why I despise all these content creators that just play to the divide and they get huge followings and they're probably sponsored. They're getting paid to push those narratives. But I just, with every fabric of my being, I despise those people. They're sellouts, selling out humanity because they're greedy little fucks and they want to just make money and they know they can make more money by being divisive. There is a difference between the younger generation. It's not just a narrative. I mean, the kids today are so obsessed with being influencers, and everywhere you go, they're posing, they're taking pictures. There's got to be the right background, and they have to have the right pose. Is it we're turning younger people into narcissists. What's up, Rui? Yeah, struggling people have less kids, but it's also diseases of despair, right? It's been talked about quite a bit. You know, if people are struggling and they're depressed, they turn to substance abuse, suicide rates rise because of the diseases of despair. And if you want to destroy civilization so that these global power structures can basically effectively take everything over, then you do it from the inside out, right? It's harder to prove it if they implement these agendas from the inside out. Yeah, I mean, I that's the whole reason I'm here. Altruistic murder is to do my part because I feel like just doing my part makes me feel like I'm not just sitting back. And while I'm really pissed off about it, I still try to have, a decent life and enjoy myself and live a decent life, I guess, ultimately. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's really people have to start just changing the way that they think about everything because we've been manipulated for a long time and it's sadly a lot of people are totally in the dark. And it's people that are upper middle class and above who are doing well, they make good money, they have a nice house, they go on vacations, they think it's, listening to NPR makes you more informed. It's just, people don't really want to know the truth if the truth sort of if it attacks the system that they actually did well in. A duck on quack. What's up? Good to see you. Hey, look who it is. Captain 1-1. How you doing, Captain 1-1? You working? You want to come up on stage and shoot the shit for a bit? My handler can drop the link in the chat again. You guys know Captain 1-1 from Devil's Advocates. So yeah, man, you're welcome to. You might be working, but if you're not, you want to pop up, man. Jump up on stage. We got lots of. We're going off talking about a lot of things. So much for keeping a outline of topics. But hey, you guys know I don't mind just going off. Oh, sorry about that. I keep on my handler. I keep getting in her way here. Altruistic Murder says, they are in the dark. Part of what I do is inform people, especially my grandchildren. It's amazing what they try to pass along to our children as facts. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Mark and Betty, I mean, there's a lot with that whole thing. There's a lot. And I think what happens is normies tend to, who are not exposed to a lot of these alternative ideas, to them, they can't conceive that much evil could be done to citizens and basically with the support of governments, because some people still want to believe the narrative, the illusion. And I get it. I get it. Yeah, if I don't know, Captain 1-1 might be working, but if he's not, obviously it'd be great to get him up on stage. Yeah, I mean, I think that we have to balance awareness with living our lives and doing things, get into things, hobbies, whatever it is. Keep yourself in a good mental state, because during COVID, I didn't drink. I because I knew I was already going through a tough time when COVID hit. And it was the reason why I basically bailed out on finishing graduate school. And so I was in a dark place. Captain 1-1 says, yeah, many people can't believe how evil certain can be. Yeah. I mean, if you study sociopathy and psychopathy, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And I talked about it on a stream one night, that they estimate anywhere from 2 to 4% of the population are either sociopaths or psychopaths. Think about how many people that is. Now imagine if you're that type of person, and wouldn't you be really good at being a cutthroat business person also? And I would think someone with those characteristics could succeed in business because they reward that. Yeah, I'm sure 1-1 sees it like crazy. I mean, he's a NYPD. It's like an intense city. Most people who haven't really spent any time in New York City don't really understand how intense it is there. Like, I've gone with people to New York City who never went into the city and they were overwhelmed. Right. I agree. Altruistic murder. I've said this, I've talked about this. Good people, we're good people, right? People tend to project their image onto other people. So if you're a decent person, you who couldn't fathom doing evil that affects millions of people, you want to project that onto the world, that no, there can't be people that are that evil. Because the idea that those people exist and that level of evil is happening around us more and more is a scary thing to absorb. Yeah, of course, Rui, the power structure, I talk about this ad nauseum. They always have a reason to take our rights away. When I used to be on Devil's Advocates, we would talk about this stuff sometimes, but you can only go so deep into topics about the big picture, the power structure and things. You can only, you can't hijack. What's up, Jessica Lynn? You can only go so deep into a topic on a stream unless you're going to do a 12-hour stream about it. And for that stuff, even though I do like presentations and stuff, I don't like doing that so much. I like kind of like summarizing the information personally and then just talking about it. But it's the information is all out there. The systems that are in place. And one of the things I would love to do, and if there's anybody in the chat who's good at making those mind maps, where it connects all the things, I've got ones handwritten, and I've tried to use some different software to make mind maps, but they were a pain in the ass to do because I wasn't familiar with that app or whatever, but of how the power structure actually is structured. And then there you can get into, here, let me see if I can show this. There are many versions of these types of things, but this is just one that taps. You're probably not going to be able to see it because of the camera. It's not really. Anyway, this is like a chart that gets into the old school ancient power structure, and it talks about the different entities that were established for power and control around the world, like the UN and the Trilateral Commission and all these organizations around the world that people have heard of, like the Club of Rome. The CIA is considered part of the global power structure. So there's a lot of different entities that were established for this very reason. And there are many, the Bilderberg Group, the World Economic Forum, the Atlantic Council, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations. There are many, many different, organizations that were created to basically keep people that come from elite backgrounds in positions where they have control over governments and by default over citizens of the world. The World Health Organization is a big one. Yeah, altruistic murder says, I talk all the time about how our rights are being taken away. People are busy and tired. They aren't paying attention. What little time they have, they don't want to spend it deep diving or protesting. I agree. And the things that people protest about are the minutia things, the illusion things. Like, remember the No Kings protest? Politicians don't have the power that a lot of people think they do. In my opinion, they're just useful idiots and they're PR people. And it's a theater show. The sad fact is, and scary fact is that things will have to get worse and worse before people are at the point where they're going to come together. for for people to unite, and usually when people unite, it's only for the short term. Micro Blue, what was pointless? I don't know if I missed something. Snoopy Red, how's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, Micro Blue, what are you referring to? Oh, that's what you were referring to, the no kings thing. Yeah. I agree. I agree. 1-1 says 1-1 knows better than anybody. Yeah, I mean, I guys, I would be driving in my area and see them doing these protests. And I'm like, you're never going to get through. People need a cause, but a lot of times it's the cause that they are behind is one that was created for them. That's like, I get it. Some people, they think they're doing good. I don't hold that against people. I just think that people need to dig deeper. And we had King Charles here not long after Epati. Yeah, it's all a game. It's all a game. It's oh God, Colorado, guys. You have no idea what's happened to Colorado. It used to be the greatest state in the country. It's gone downhill, man. It's bad. It's still a physically beautiful place, but it's bad. Debsy, what's up? It's good to see everybody, you know? It's good to have people engaging and talking shit with me. Yeah, well, I've tried to collaborate with people through like X, for example, but most of them are still locked into the right versus left thing. And in my opinion, that's not going to solve it. It's not. It's You can't fix a corrupt system by using the corrupt system. I agree. They shouldn't allow protesters to block highways and shit. That was all done on purpose. That was all to create chaos and keep people fighting. Lenny, Colorado is maybe a close second to California. But here's the thing, Colorado used to be a purple state. It was balanced. People weren't, before everything was so divisive, it was so great here, man. Everybody, no one gave a shit about politics. I've told this story before. You'd go out and there'd be deadheads shooting pool with ranchers. Literally, I mean, I witnessed this many, many times. People just hung out. You went to watch live music. You'd skied, you snowboarded, you mountain biked, you did all your stuff. Nobody was picking teams and picking sides. Yeah, I heard New York City. I mean, it's really bad now. I came up going out in New York City when it was rough, when it was a rough place before Giuliani. But that was part of what New York City was. There was grungy parts. It had character still. And yeah, it was good when they started to clean it up. But now what they're using as a lever to control people is motivated by the power structure, and they're just feeding a narrative to people, because if you can take over a densely populated city like New York with these globalist policies, then it's easier to manufacture consent for people to go along with it in other places. Yeah, Lenny, I remember I think we chatted about this on one of the streams. look, there are things I still like about Colorado, but it's this physical place, and they're destroying it with geoengineering, which I'm not going to get into on tonight's stream. There's so much corruption in Colorado, like the most evil kind. Whenever you see politicians that come from the financial sector and they're in office, you can be sure that state is targeted to be, you know, destroyed under a planned destruction agenda. 1-1. Finding ways to discuss problems, debate solutions, and still recognize each other's shared humanity is one of the ongoing challenges in any democracy. It's too bad the super elite do not care. Yeah, they don't care about that. And the biggest eye opener for me is when I started to see how such a small group of financial elites could have such control over everything. For some reason, I know why this is happening like this. My light is, and I think that they have gotten to a point where they've just continued to expand their scope of influence. Yeah, well, Colorado, when they legalized weed, the state got flooded with people who just wanted to come here. And now there's like drug tourism in Colorado. Denver's falling apart because of it. And they're doing it's planned destruction. It's flood a place with drugs and people who don't care about the state. They're just there because they can smoke weed and do mushrooms and shit legally. It's not going to be good. Yeah, and like to one's point is I always say this, like, yeah, I sometimes you have to be tough with people when they present ridiculous ideas. Because what has happened is so many people have gotten used to presenting nonsense ideas that were spoon fed to them. They didn't generate these ideas on their own. And so they just repeat the ideas that they were spoon fed. And that's dangerous, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cities are under attack. I don't know why my light is acting weird. I'm going to put a light on behind me, guys. I'll be right back to see if it helps my camera better. I'll be right back. Yeah, sweet Melissa. Denver is really bad now. I used to go to Denver a lot, and I just don't go there anymore. Very rarely. I'm flying out of there next week. But yeah, it's Denver. I saw it happen. I watched it happen. And in my opinion, it's pretty obvious that it was all planned. Philly, do you want to jump up? Well, yeah, Rui, like a lot of ideas have sometimes intended consequences. They're they know they can get people on board with ideas, and just like I just talked about in my video about the book Animal Farm. Movements get co-opted. So it starts out as an ideal, like a revolutionary idea that a movement develops behind it. And then what happens? That system gets co opted, and always the power structure co ops movements. Philly, yeah, why don't you pop up? You ready? I'll just bring you up. Right, I agree with 1-1. Why does someone have to be Republican or Democrat? It's a charade. It's the right versus left dichotomy, and that's how they keep us divided. They all work ultimately towards the same interests. They all are pushing ultimately the only in my opinion, here's what changes. Rhetoric changes. But behind the scenes the same stuff is happening regardless what party is in office. They're all controlled by the bankers, they're all controlled by elite interests. So what changes? The rhetoric changes. So they keep people stuck in this right versus left system. Philly, what's up?
Hey guys.
People are I can't even follow the chat, man. There's so much stuff going in here. Microblue, I see that. Denver. Anywhere big tech goes. Denver and Colorado became a big tech stronghold. If you just trace it, the two things that I figured out was anywhere big tech sets up shop gets destroyed, and anywhere where people from the financial world become high level politicians. That's how you know a state is targeted. Just look at it. Look at where the big tech oligarchs set up shop, and then you'll see in those same places people that come from the banking world get into high positions. Yeah, love Tina. Look, I mean, I agree, but the problem is people still think voting is going to solve the problems. It's I used to think that too. It's not. If you have a corrupt system, and Philly, I like to get your take on this as well, because 1-1 brought up some pretty big picture ideas. But if your system is corrupt, do you really think you're going to change anything by using that system? You're just going to get more of the same. What do you think about that, Philly?
Uh, I go back and forth with that because if we don't vote, it's like a catch-22, right? If we don't vote, they're going to install what they want. But then if we do vote, they're going to install who they want. So I think it's a difficult it's a difficult conversation to have because what do? You don't vote. Either way, they're going to put in who they want to put in.
Well, I've been asked this question many times. Well, people say, "What do you mean?" Then they're just going to put in whoever they want. But I think the only hope, and I don't think it's going to happen, but I think the only big thing that can happen is like what Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about. Like her or not, she's speaking out against the power structure that it's all BS and that we need a revolt where people see you have to stop supporting the system, and by uh, participating in it, you are giving that system power. And I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But if enough people just withdrew from the system, and then I believe parallel movements would start where people refuse to participate. They're not going to pay their taxes into a corrupt system. But I don't think it's going to happen without a lot of turbulence. But how, at what point do people, will be in a digital prison soon? We'll have a central bank digital currencies that are surveilling everything we do online, everywhere we can go. And I'm telling you, they just want ultimate control is what they want. And the system that we are voting for supports that. So I just don't think we can fix it in a broken system. I just don't think it's possible.
No, I think we're heading towards my own personal opinion. We're heading towards another a revolution. I think people are finally starting to push back. I hear more and more conversations about forget left or right. They're tired of that. Um, I I think that we're getting there. It's going to take a lot of time, and I think it's not going to be easy. And we're probably going to go through even harder times than what we feel we already have gone through.
Yeah, I mean, it takes things, catalyzing events that get really bad, and our government is not working for us. It should be pretty obvious. Yeah, the Roman Empire, everybody makes that parallel that in a late stage, we're a late stage empire, and it makes sense logically. Um, but here's something to consider. When I was growing up and you'd hear about the fall of the Roman Empire, well, Rome still exists. The empire is not there, but Rome is still there. It's still a city. Maybe America needs a form of a collapse. But I think if enough people are awakened, they're not going to be as manipulated as easily. And Epod, do you want to come up, man? You want to jump up, talk some shit with us?
No, this is an interesting topic because it's so funny. I was with my oldest son today, who's 24, and he brought this exact thing up about the fall of America and what he feels is coming. And he's the one, JJ, that started me on that whole is the American dream dead? Because it looks bleak for these young kids. You know, they're working hard. You know, he did it the right way. You know, went to a good school, went to college, you know, works really hard. And the likelihood of him buying a house is in a good area, you know, in an area where you want to live is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And ownership of anything, like JJ and I discussed, I mean, it's getting down to where you can't even own your own video game. Like you own nothing. And then, you know, now they're discussing, you know, the car subscription where you don't even own a car. You just have a subscription to a car that you can use.
It's literally all in the book about the Great Reset.
Yes.
This is the craziest part about it. I mean, I did that video on the Great Reset. All the things they laid out, stakeholder capital, that's what stakeholder capitalism is where we don't own anything. We lease it. We have memberships. We lease things from these centralized entities. And they've been steering us that way. And I think they used COVID as a catalyzing event to steer people into this idea of you can't travel here or there, you can't fly, you can't do this, you can't do that. Manufactured scarcity, you know, I think people are waking up, but the problem is people that have a wide reach. So people that would be in a position, because nobody that comes out of the woodwork and then all of a sudden is put into a position of power, it no, it didn't happen organically, right? That was manufactured. So somebody that has built themselves up organically, that has a wide reach, would be able to, someone who doesn't want to be a politician, but someone that has a wide reach, like him or not, like a Joe Rogan. He has a huge platform. You know, anybody that wants to run for office probably should be eliminated as a choice. You know, it should be the way it's people, someone or a group of people that are chosen by citizens organically. Let's bring Epotty up here. We'll all talk some shit here. What's up, E-Potty? I hear your airplane in the
Oh,
background.
yeah, I see. That's it. I got to shut my games down. Great. I'll be back.
Okay. Come backstage if you want. I'll pull you off and you could jump right back on. Yeah, the American dream has been in decline for a long time. It's not a recent thing. It's happened, what I talked about earlier, the cost of living versus the median income rate of increase. They're not even close.
No, and I can say here in Philadelphia, you have these oligarchs, these elite. They're going to these neighborhoods and they're investing and they're building these what they call affordable homes. Well, no one's going to move into those affordable homes because it's a bad neighborhood. It's a terrible school district. So what are you doing? You're just keeping the same people imprisoned. Like, it's just a cycle. So
Yeah.
you can build those homes and they try to make it like they're building it to give people, the ability to own the American dream. No, you're not.
Well, if more, this speaks to the undoing of societies from the inside out. Now, when you go to college, it used to be, I remember this very well, back in the day, if you went to college and it was affordable back in the day, it almost guaranteed you a better job. Now it doesn't mean anything. If you're not in the tech world and you're not a programmer or a coder or something, or if you don't work in like the energy sector, I'm talking about the more grand scale. Like obviously you can work in the medical field, make good money. There's areas where you can get a job and make decent money, but a lot of them where it used to be, if you had a college degree, you were almost guaranteed a better job. I saw it. I mean, I witnessed it, in my generation. But then once the banking cartel and all the collusion to, in my opinion, get universities, when they started being run by people from the financial sector, that's when the tuition started going up. Captain One says, these are common to Rome's fall: political polarization, government debt, institutional trust, military commitments, wealth inequality, border pressures. Yeah, it's all planned destruction. The global elites will have a hard time implementing their global government control mechanism unless they destroy and weaken society, people, the fabric of society, division, people struggling financially, so they're more apt to go along with things so they can survive. All right, I'll bring E-Potty back up. All right, I mean, the airplane's not as loud now.
Oh,
so.
for crying out loud. I am so sorry, man. Destroying your
You don't want
your
people
show.
accusing you of having a vibrator going again,
No,
do you?
wait, I can't believe people think that. Just, don't mind the barrels in the basement. Okay. What were we talking about?
Well, we were just talking about how the American dream is basically being dismantled, and how a lot of these things, like his comment on stage, is these are all tactics that are symptomatic of a late stage empire, where and I've said many times it's by design, because the global elites have been pushing for this quote unquote new world order, and the way they do it is they co-opt people and they install them into positions of power as CEOs, as politicians. And this has happened over decades. This is not a new thing, because they decided that this is how they want to run the world.
Do you know that Chinese teacher that's gone viral online that teaches? I forgot what his name is. He's not a professor, but I think they call him Professor.
Well, he's like a dissident type.
Yes.
Yes, I've
And
seen
he's got
him.
like 3 students, but he's going back. He did some lessons that blew my mind, and I'm like, oh my God, if this guy's not like eliminated shortly, I'd be surprised. And he basically said the reason why the wealthy get wealthy is they cheat. So you talk about the American dream. The American dream is gone for the middle class for sure, and we didn't know that they were eroding that concept. I mean, the generation that has come up recently, they don't have an American dream. They're just trying to hold on, to whatever. It's sad to see. I remember I worked at a college. I saw these kids during COVID. Their parents had to sign a contract with the college that said if their child violates any of these COVID protocols, meaning caught without a mask, they can violate their tuition, violate their admittance here, and they would be kicked off campus, and that's it.
Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. He's been on some shows, like YouTube shows that I watch, like Jimmy Dore and I think I can't remember, Redacted. I think he was on.
Is he on redacted? Let me see. Is this Professor?
Yeah, I know exactly the guy you're talking about.
I think Tucker had him on, or
Yeah,
something.
he was. I know the guy. He's made his rounds. I saw.
Have you watched any of those things? And
Yeah, I've seen his content.
I mean, he goes into Skull and Bones and the Yaleys and who you know in Harvard and Yale
Sure.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the amount of presidents we have that come out of that little circle there is amazing.
Yeah, well,
Defies.
what I was going to say is years ago, I was working like an hour or so away from where I lived. So I worked 6 days a week. I would have to commute, and I was taking night classes. So figuring out I might as well take advantage of my drive time, I was listening to lectures, general lectures, and Yale had all these free lectures posted online. And one of the psychology professors, Paul Bloom, at the time, frequently would say to his intro psychology class, so freshmen, what you will get out of your time at Yale is not just your education, more importantly, the connections you make. And that's because predominantly the kids that are going to Yale are from wealthy or powerful families. And Skull and Bones was basically, and there are others, everybody's heard of Skull and Bones, but there are the other ones, the other secret societies, secret fraternities at Harvard, and there's the Book and the Snake or Book and Snake or something. There's a bunch of them. But I started learning more about Skull and Bones, and it goes back centuries. And it's all the Bush family goes way back, and it's all these elite bloodlines that get into these secret fraternities, and they get placed in places like the CIA or in the global financial sector, or as Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission and all these different organizations that essentially establish a global power network, or they maintain it because it's been there for centuries. And this permeates the higher levels of everything that impacts everybody else's life. Everything, anything connected to global banking, which is everything, affects everybody's life. And if there's a small group of people that are really pulling the strings, they're not regular people. This is an important thing to understand. They may be friendly. I've met some of these like super wealthy people. they'll be like well spoken and really friendly and calm and chill, but they didn't grow up like most people did. The networks that they grew up around, their social circles, are people from the same type of backgrounds. They have no empathetic understanding of how other people's lives are and what struggle is. That doesn't mean that they maybe didn't work hard or they're not intelligent, but it's just they weren't exposed to the struggles that regular people face. So there's no possible way they're going to advocate for those people other than just rhetoric, philanthropy. I mean, all these billionaires and oligarchs get into philanthropy. It's just a PR move.
Right. They've hijacked a number of words that sound good, like sustainability. Well, the minute I hear sustainability, oh, watch out! Watch your wallet. Somebody wants money for, the world's going to end.
And it's a way to funnel their money too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They don't do any of this stuff out of the goodness of their heart. It's just a way to funnel that money.
Right. And you got to watch them. They're all on each other's boards.
Yeah.
And then, I saw Berkshire Hathaway is making a huge donation to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Well, what the heck? And then he sends the same money back to him at the end of the year so that they can say, look at what we've done.
That's a whole rabbit hole you've had at Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
You always bring up some good ones.
It drives me nuts because I want to reach through the TV and go, what the?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is all the network, and people that are in a higher income level, say upper middle class and above, they have investments with all these companies, their portfolios, so they benefit. So like you'll have a lot of these people like, they talk about being anti-war. Well, do you know what your investments are? The portfolios you have? Do you know what you're invested in? Your retirement accounts? BlackRock has a lot of retirement accounts, portfolios. So these people can do lip service to all these things, but they're really involved with that system and they benefit from it. So they don't really want it to go away.
It's funny.
Hangman's joke, 44% of presidents come from Greek system, skull bones, etc. Yeah, of course. Their laws supersedes our own laws. Yeah, I mean, it's when I started learning about that stuff years ago, we had heard of, skull and bones and stuff like that, but the networks go back. Freemasonry goes way, way back, centuries. And
by the way, I think Jack the Ripper was a Freemason.
Wait, say that again?
No, I'm not going to say it again. No, Jack the Ripper was a Freemason.
Well, it's possible. It's possible, but look, power structures. One of the things they do is protect each other. So that's part of what they get out of those networks is protection. And so if you look at these organizations, like for example, the Illuminati, by all accounts, was formed in 1776, the same year America, supposedly gained their independence. Compare that to Freemasonry, which goes back centuries before that, which many believed was basically an offshoot of the Knights Templar. And then the Knights Templar fled, and then they helped establish Freemasonry and the Illuminati. And if you trace all these organizations way back, you see how they co-opted other movements. If a movement's gaining power, the power structure makes sure they can co-opt it before it gains power that might oppose them.
Yeah, all our forefathers were Freemasons. Our whole Washington, D.C., you look at all the architecture, you look at some rituals that we do They all come from Freemasonry. It's crazy. There's a story that George Washington was in full regalia when he put the cornerstone of the Capitol.
Yeah, I mean, and Crud Dog Studio says my mom's side of the family was all Freemasons. Now, there are different levels of Freemasonry. So the what I've read and what I've learned and what I believe is that you don't really get into the elite power structure until you're at the highest levels of Freemasonry, which logically speaking would be people that already come from elite backgrounds, elite bloodlines. You know, you can have a big like for example, you work for a corporation and you might be middle management. You're not connected to what's going on in the board meetings, you know, in the boardrooms or at the Bilderberg meeting or at the World Economic Forum, right? It's compartmentalized. And that's how the power structure has always done it. You know, and I think it's interesting just because if you one says, the Knights Templar are still trying to find the Ark of the Covenant buried in Oak Island. It's interesting. I just try to get like a general understanding of how like the power structure has evolved over time. Just so you can
Scotland.
What's that?
The Knights Templar fled to Scotland.
Right, and that's where like the Scottish Rite, Freemasons, right. and then
the Pope ordered their deaths.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting stuff. It really is, like, to learn about it.
But how much is true? That's the problem. How much of our you said it your very first video. What if everything you learned was a lie? Yeah. We brought up the Greeks. The Greeks, when you go to school, the Greeks are what you first learn about, right? Their civilization. It was the greatest civilization at that time, and it brought us scholars and government and great thinkers, philosophers, great art. Where are they now? What are they doing?
Yeah, well, a lot of societies, if over time, transition. You know, like they get broken apart. I think if like any movement, that's why, you know, they say like, what is it, 300 years most empires last? Right? Isn't that?
I don't know.
It's interesting because
Rome fell because of what America is doing now, which is internally. We're destroying ourselves from the inside. The outside forces, that's not what's going to destroy us.
Well, I think that they co-opt systems from the outside, and then those systems become like a cancer on the inside. Because why? It's worked throughout history. So they use the same, they just have more technology now. That's what I talked about in my video about 5th generation warfare. They utilize the technology and operations to control the public. It's a war against, Trojan horses, no talkie before coffee. They use politicians, they use big business, they use social movements, social engineering. You know, they use the financial system to basically destroy things from the inside. And if you look at like one of the threads that runs through late stage empires is the over-sexualization of young people. It's something that happens in all these places when they're collapsing. You know, it happened in Russia. It's happened around the world, and it's happening now. This whole movement, like OnlyFans, is like a normal thing for kids. All if you look, you can't avoid it. I mean, I see young women, and their parents let them dress the way they let them dress. I can't even. It blows my mind. It's insane, you know. And this is acceptance of this over sexualization of women, especially young women. And then what happens? Young people are very susceptible because they want to fit in socially. And parents, I think, largely have ceded their kids' raising to
It takes a
social
village.
media.
Well, and the government.
Yeah, and the government, but the
government's-
government uses social media. I mean, see, I don't think I know where you're getting at, but I don't think the government is really the ones pulling the strings. I think
Really?
yeah, I think the government is just a mechanism used by the elites, and that I would argue that the CIA and the intelligence agencies have far more power than the government does. I believe they are in fact the ones tasked with keeping an eye on the government, making sure that they follow the plan. And I think my knowledge of the intelligence networks is average, but I understand that the way that system works. I mean, if you look at the CIA was started by Wall Street, and
Yeah.
we were fed this nonsense that it was, oh, it's for national security, and they you know, keeping us safe, and so on and so forth. Based on everything I've read, they were created by global elites to forward elite business interests and elite interests in general around the world. Based on everything that I've seen, if you connect just a couple of dots, it's pretty easy. All these NGOs that are totally fake, they never do what they're supposed to do.
Oh yeah, they're like shell companies.
Yeah, they're cutouts for the CIA, and they're cutouts for powerful entities. And I think that it's all a fuck fest.
It's a game.
Yeah, well, the CIA, I agree, Rui. That's what I'm getting at. They're the arm of the true power, and they're the ones who move the chess pieces around the board, and that the government is by and large this image presented to the people to make people think that we have a democratic system.
Crude Dog Studio, I agree in some way with the mafia. I can tell you in certain parts of Philadelphia, when they were in charge, we did not have the stuff happening that we have now. So I kind of agree with that.
Before I go get my rooster off the roof, I have
for crying out.
Oh boy.
I have a comment for E-Potty. You know about Bayonne, right?
Yeah.
Right. You know Bayonne was a massive mafia town. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
That was like
it was before my time, I guess.
Yeah, that was like the stronghold in North Jersey was Bayonne.
Well, Staten Island, where I live now, is.
Oh boy.
Oh, good. Thank you, Philly.
I have a special song for you later, E-Potty,
Okay.
I'm going to play for you.
They filmed They filmed The Godfather here. You know, I went to school. The John Castellano. I shouldn't be saying this, right? John Castellano's miniature White House was right next to the school I went to.
Rui, I read that book, Devil's Chessboard. I've talked about it. Legacy of Ashes and The Devil's Chessboard are two very popular books about the CIA. But, well, anyway, I digress. Bayonne was a major mafia town. There's some things that I can't talk about on stream because it involves other people. But when I lived there, I lived on the borderline uptown, you know, off Kennedy Boulevard. Now, you know, just 39th Street, and above that you cross over into Jersey City, and right
Yep.
there used to be the worst,
Yes.
the Courier Woods housing project. It was
Yeah.
like the worst
Ugly.
housing project in Jersey City. It was literally blocks away from me. And there was a dividing line, and there was never any crime in Bayonne
Yeah.
back
Right.
then.
Yeah. Well, they said that was it Brooklyn? Brooklyn was the safest place during the heyday of the mob because that's where all the mothers of the mob bosses would live. Yeah, you didn't.
No, that's the way it used to be. And look, some people would argue that the reason why they tried to break up the mob is because they cutting into some of the things that the government was trying to do, and they were basically having power and influence that the government didn't want another organization to have. I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back. I can get my rooster off the roof here.
Go kick the rooster.
I have to tell you this. This was disturbing to me. We're talking about the technology they have. I saw a video of a guy giving a demonstration to a bunch of guys in suits, and he was describing and showing the technology that we have. It's an aerosol that they drop on neighborhoods, communities, cities, and depending on what aerosol they have, it lights up different parts of the people down below, lights up their brain, section of their brain. Like if they wanted to make a group that was aggressive, passive, they drop a certain aerosol on them. But that means that they can do the opposite too, right? They can light up a passive person and make them aggressive.
Oh, absolutely. If you read some of these books, like that book Bitten, it's easy read. I read it in 2 days. If you read that, and like I always recommend The Real Anthony Fauci, if you read that, it's a long book, but if you read, you'll see the stuff that we've been doing for a long time. Well, not we, the government has been doing. And, you know, it makes you sick to your stomach reading this stuff.
They wake up thinking of what their day's going to be. And that's how can we kill people? What way can we do this? It's crazy to me, just absolutely crazy. And, you know, when it becomes public, it's like creating the virus, right? Well, we want to create the virus so that we can create a vaccine when if the virus ever gets out, so that don't create any type of virus.
The book Bitten is really good because it goes into, you know, the Lyme disease, and they really created that for warfare, right? But they had to test it. So they tested it on these, Midwest neighborhoods. They would, you know, drop these ticks in there.
Oh my God.
See what it would, the book it's an easy read, but it's just like, all these diseases that we have are literally man-made. And, you know, me being in the industry, the healthcare industry, if you go back before Big Pharma and what they did to, you know, the holistic, because all the doctors used to be holistic, and then they basically made that unlawful, and they discredited all those doctors, and they weren't allowed to practice anymore unless you hopped on, you know, the whole pharmaceutical industry. And then in The Real Anthony Fauci, it goes into like how these journals now, I mean, I went to graduate school. I was 6 months away from my doctorate. Like, you live and die on the Journal of Medicine, but then you find out those are all bought and paid for articles. They're not even real.
Yeah, that's like the scientists too. It's not, it's no different.
I just wanted to see real quick. One, if you're not working, can you come up on stage, or are you working? Because I see you've been in the chat. So if you're able to, I'd love for you to come up.
And I like
Sorry,
that comment, what you said was true. I think, and this is only my thoughts on it, I think there was a part of Trump that thought that he was powerful enough to do all these things he said he was going to do, and then he realized he's really not that powerful. Like, the president does not run this country; the elites do.
Right.
Well, that's a hard paradigm shift for people to make, because think about it, a lot of people are really into politics and they get invested in this right versus left, the lefties this and the right wing that, and MAGA this, and it's all a game, and people are tribal, so they get sucked into it. I mean, I knew what was going on with COVID from almost from day one. And I remember I was talking to somebody and I said, if people go along with this 2 weeks to flatten the curve thing, we're doomed, because it's just going to steamroll and it's going to
Guys,
snowball.
yep. They literally, the government, 6 months before that whole COVID thing happens, like the people that work for the government, they have these trial runs. And my ex-husband at the time had to go to DC for, I think, like a week or two. And they do these trial runs of these pandemics or things to see
Oh yeah,
how it needs to go or what they need to do.
that was Agenda 201, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Where they actually had real people, talking about their expertise and what we would have to do. And here's the irony behind this whole thing. This was always a drill before the actual thing happened.
Yep.
And part of that whole discussion was about being prepared with PPE and all the materials that we needed. And ironically, we didn't have it. So why have a drill?
Exactly. And then back to JJ's point, in the book Bitten, you'll see, and to you, Epati, they test these things on, they get these willing people, whether they're college students or in Bitten, I think, JJ, they were military people that sign up and they test it on them for, money, they get paid. And they're subjecting these people to these things because they want to see what it does, or what they need to tweak, or what they need to change.
What's up,
to make
Truth
it
Seeker?
effective.
Yeah, it's the reason why I recommended that book to people
Such
is
a good book.
because you can make the connections. You could see, you can extrapolate if you read the book Bitten into how might they expand something that they wanted to use to scare the whole world into giving up their rights. And I have a very, I'll tell you, since we're talking about Fauci and all that now, if you read the book Bitten, you'll be able to see where I'm coming from. And I didn't get this idea from that book. It just solidified my belief. I'll tell you what I remember from spring of 2020. There was all of a sudden, we were hearing about it in other countries, right? Oh, it's China and this and that. These fake videos that they were throwing up. And then all of a sudden, it was probably late March, early April, it was all over our news about cases, and it's this mysterious, COVID-19 is spreading and this, that, and the other. And within weeks, all of a sudden, it's across the whole country, and every newspaper has articles about so-and-so died from this, and this person, it was the sickest I've ever been. And what appeared to me to be propaganda was everywhere. And then, of course, it was the 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then the lockdowns that lasted much longer than 2 weeks. And I just logically thought, wait a minute. A virus doesn't spread across an entire country. Now, people will say, it was here in the winter, so on and so forth. That's fine. But in spring, early summer, a virus does not spread across a country in a matter of weeks. It just doesn't. It's it. I mean, yes, they can spread within populations. I believe, this is just my opinion, that they were spreading something using stratospheric aerosol injection, because that's when the geoengineering ramped up, and then it was ubiquitous everywhere. And if anybody thinks that that is a conspiracy theory, you can go on .gov websites and see where they spray. It's just the news doesn't talk about it. So people, if you talk about quote unquote chemtrails, oh no, it's condensation, it's contrails. It's not. Condensation is a little line you'll see behind a plane when you look up in the sky, and it dissipates. Condensation doesn't go 100 miles across the sky and crisscross and make cute little patterns because the military pilots that do it want to be funny.
And did you see that Disney was adding chemtrails or contrails to some of their old animation just to say, oh no, we've always had that?
Yeah.
Come on.
Look, I grew up, you know, I was born in '69. I grew up through, I lived the life, and that was not a thing. There's a big difference between contrails and it's SAI, stratospheric aerosol injection. And then they started getting all these entities investing in, like Bill Gates, testing, spraying particles into the sky to block the sun, which is called solar radiation management, SRM. I believe that they were spreading something, whether it's a virus or a toxin. Think about this. What were two of the weird symptoms when it first started going around? Loss of smell and taste. Where do you inhale air? From your nose and your mouth. So I think something in whatever they were spraying, that was what was causing the loss of smell and taste and causing the symptoms that it was causing. Now, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you what type of substance would cause that. But that's my opinion. And if you read a book like Bitten, and then you see, oh, they were spraying decades and decades ago, testing biological substances on citizens. And they were dumping ticks out of airplanes. And they were doing experiments with that, where they would like dump insects onto like a herd of animals and then study the animals. The information's all out there. It's up to us to connect the dots. We don't need the permission of the mainstream media. We don't need the permission of the government.
Yeah.
And they were spraying a lot.
And what we did to, what was it, Guatemala, without their consent, and then we had to apologize. Well, that's our government.
Yeah.
Secretly.
Well, Epod, did you ever see the video of John Brennan, the former CIA director, talking about?
He's so evil.
There's a video, you can find it. He was talking at like a conference or something, and he was talking about weather modification, and he was saying how some parts of the world are going to be very angry because what you do in one place is going to affect other places. There's a lot of money invested in it, right? And there are articles you can find about how they using wildfires as warfare tactics.
Yep.
Right. So think about this, what happened in Hawaii, what's happening around the world. If you want to come in and implement, let's say, a smart city or that type of agenda somewhere, what do? You just destroy that area, or you have these big banks buy up a lot of the residential housing, and then you basically create chaos in an area so that you come in with the solution, problem, reaction, solution.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I think the wildfires are to make it so that insurance companies won't insure anymore, so that that's not a viable home
There you
anymore.
go.
They'll buy it up.
Yep.
People will have to move into the city, and once they get into the city, you won't need a car because we're gonna provide you transportation. You won't need to own anything. That's that. There
Mhm.
was a woman who was a city planner for Los Angeles, and they were increasing vacant apartments. They were projecting how many millions of more apartments that Los Angeles would need in the future because they're trying to mush people into cities and then have land where no, you can't go there.
Yeah, well, look at Foxy Rose just made the comment. They did no
Yeah, Hawaii.
investigation into the stuff that happened in Lahaina, in Hawaii.
Yeah,
And-
where are all the kids?
Right, and look at who all was involved in supposedly investing in that area. There was no follow up done on that.
Yep.
And then Tulsi Gabbard, who's from Hawaii, was talking about that, and then she gets elected to the director of national intelligence and never does anything about it to investigate it.
Bingo.
So I've lost faith in our government totally and completely, and I think that what has happened is that the corruption over decades has become so ubiquitous, and the control that mechanisms that the banking cartel have become so successful that they control every aspect of our lives: food production, gas. All these giant corporations are basically owned by these banks, and so they have a say in who the board is. They have voting power in a lot of these big corporations. They have their little secret meetings around the world where they plan what's going to happen around, they plan whatever the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that politicians, look, if you don't play, someone posted about this in the chat before. If politicians step out of line, they get taken out. JFK was talking about getting us back on the gold standard, and he talked about other, foreign influence and things like that. He gave a speech about secret societies not long before he was taken out.
Yeah, scattered. What is it? Scattered. To all
Take the
parts
CIA and scatter it into 1,000
pieces. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and look, if you're going into that world, look, if you're a powerful person already and you're moving up the ranks to the position where you might become like a president or vice president. Look, J.D. Vance is basically the protege of Peter Thiel. So he was put in there. And now they're trying to do everything. They get him. He's doing his rounds because he has his book out. And he's trying to talk how he's anti-war because they're prepping him to be the next candidate for president. And it's, some people buy into it because they buy into the right versus left thing.
Yeah, but I agree with Philly. The president is just a puppet. I mean, even in, if you saw, I guess they all have handlers. I saw Biden's inauguration. There was a Chinese guy that was sitting by himself right behind him. I'm like, who's that? We know everybody seated in all the rows except for that one guy. Who is that guy? He's from China.
Yeah, well, it's like to this point here that Tulsi stepped down, but in my opinion, that was all planned well in advance. It's all a stage show, in my opinion. And by the way, regarding this comment, if I start feeling sick, I take oil of oregano, and literally within a day, it knocks it out. It's going to be different for everybody, but I take liquid vitamin D, and I take, during the winter, and then if I start feeling run down, I take oil of oregano, and it's never failed me.
What, like a cold?
Yeah, well, like if I start feeling like symptoms coming on, because I'll usually get really, there's the two things that happen to me before I get sick. I start feeling tired, like lethargic, because I never take naps, and like I'll start feeling like I need a nap, and then I won't be able to sleep good at night. So it's counterintuitive. Like I'll be tired, but I'll have restless sleep. Always happens before I get sick.
I'm with Shells. Zinc. I'm a big proponent of zinc. I'll post on Discord the combination I take in the wintertime that I load my son up on. Never get sick. And it's all organic stuff that we take.
I have liquid zinc that I
Yeah, you
take
take zinc.
once I start getting sick. But I was talking about oil of oregano.
Yep. You're right, JJ. That's good stuff.
Somebody else asked me, but yeah, I mean, look, everybody has their own stuff that works for them, and for me, and like drinking and partying and stuff like that weakens your immune system, and so if it's a time of the year where people are getting sick, just don't drink, don't party or anything, and basically get decent sleep and drink a lot of water. We're always raised, oh, drink fluids, drink fluids. You have to drink a lot because that helps. First of all, it helps your system, just function normally. But if you do catch something, it helps pass it through your system faster.
And a good cure for a hangover is Alka-Seltzer.
You know what has helped me in the past, because I don't drink much anymore, so I have no tolerance like I used to. Coconut water. In the morning, if I'm feeling a little out of it, I'll chug some coconut water, and like and then of course, if your stomach's feeling shitty, there are obviously things you could do like Alka-Seltzer and shit like that.
Yes, the sun is very healing. And because if you remember, one of the big COVID things, they didn't want you to go outside. You couldn't go outside. Vitamin D, JJ, you and I talked about that. I did post it in Discord under book recommendations of, I think it's called the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine. I live and die by that book. It's a great book. It tells you, you can look up what's ailing you. It tells you what to take herbally, and it works. Yes, more booze works.
Look, because I don't have tolerance. Like I was a big, partier when I was young. I worked in bars. I played music in bars. But if I was like going away or on vacation or something, and I would drink a little more than I normally would or whatever, and I'd feel shitty the next day, I would just be like, I'm on vacation. I'll just go out and have a few more drinks tonight. But that's not good. I'm not recommending that to anybody, and I try not to drink a lot, but because it's just not good. Oh God, exercise. That's the best thing for a healthy mind.
The dopamine.
And cardio. Working out in all forms is great. Nothing, in my experience in life, and I was a competitive athlete for many years, nothing makes you feel better than cardiovascular exercise. Jogging, bicycling, stationary bikes, any swimming is one of the best. You swim, like if you get into a routine of swimming, it's amazing how you feel. Like when I was back in the day when I was a young lad, I was a lifeguard at the beach for 4 summers, and the best mornings were when I would get up early before work. I'd go right down to the beach. I would jump in the ocean and swim. And I'd get a good swim workout, and then I might jog down the beach on the sand, and then I would shower on the beach in one of those showers, and I'd go get some breakfast, and then it would be the best day because it puts you in a great mood. And it's all right. We got the Wicked Witch of the Midwest is here. Welcome in. Yeah, well, that's a good policy there, Wicked Witch.
And what is it? Rent? This one? Oh, I can't say Manu. I started several years ago doing clean eating, and God, you feel so much better. And the minute you taste a processed food after you do clean eating for a certain amount of time, you can taste the sugar, the salt. It just does not taste good.
It chips up
And
like
Yeah.
cookie.
yeah, I'll
Mackerel,
post
what the
that
hell
book
is that?
too. There's a easy, it's a book if you have like a, what is it? Not an air fryer, but a steam pot or whatever. Really easy recipes. And I'm telling you, you taste the difference because my kid is an athlete. So I'm very, very particular about what he puts in his body and what he eats.
I would recommend distilling your water too.
Yes. And
Get
that what is it?
get the
That hydro water e-potty that they have now?
oh
The,
I distill my own, so I don't.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
just to get the fluoride out.
Yep.
I have a fluoride water filter. It
Yeah.
filters fluoride. And
Okay.
two quick things. I'm on like a modified paleo diet, and if you just evolutionary science is cutting edge. We evolved to eat meat and greens. Grain and agriculture came into society very late in human evolution, relatively speaking. We evolved to eat meat. The problem is, most of the meat you buy is junk.
Right. Yep.
If you
Mhm.
get grass fed beef and healthy, if you can find like pasture raised chickens and stuff like that, that's harder to find. But you can get grass fed beef. I eat it all the time. I eat, and I weighed what I weighed when I was a senior in high school. You'll be leaner as long as you balance it out and don't eat a lot. I don't eat dairy. I don't eat grain, and I just eat some veggies and meat. And I eat red meat all the time. That's a horse shit. The cholesterol, this and that. It's not that gives people problems with cholesterol. It's all the processed foods, the
Mhm.
sugar, all that stuff. So
Didn't they flip the food pyramid?
They did, and just to pop off of JJ and I talked about this, I don't get my meat from the grocery store, and I'll post the link in the chat, but I'll also post on Discord. I go through Good Ranchers, and it's all grass-fed, organic meat. They ship it right to you, and I'm telling you guys, the minute you taste this meat, you actually taste good meat, and it's cheaper and better than the meat you're going to get in any store.
yeah, I mean that's all I eat. I mean I eat
Mhm.
meat and some veggies and stuff, and I have some. I don't eat any dairy. I drink coconut milk, unsweetened coconut milk, in my coffee and everything, or making shakes. I do coconut water instead of soft drinks. I haven't drank a
Mhm.
soda in years.
Yeah, nobody.
But I wanted to comment on Lulu's question. Um, I know a little bit about TMS because I had to do a research paper on it in college, and I know people have gotten good results from it. Now, I don't know if there are, because I haven't dug that deep into it. This was just undergrad. I didn't continue to dig into it, like what the potential long-term impacts are, or effects, or whatever. I don't really know as far as how effective it is for long term. It seems like here's the thing about that. I don't meet guys. Do you mind if I talk about this for a minute?
No, go ahead.
I'm just gonna.
It's important.
One of the things that I learned just from my own reading is so your brain is wired, right? Your brain gets wired by what you eat, what you do, how you think, your natural body chemistry, genetics. And I read a book called The Brain That Changes Itself. Now, in neuroscience, you hear that statement a lot, plasticity, right? So that your brain is plastic, it's malleable. So one of the ideas is that through whatever things, toxins, behaviors, substances, diet, your upbringing, your environment, wire your brain a certain way. And that interacts with your natural genetic code, like what traits you already have. Some people are more predisposed to depression and anxiety. But if you can follow certain steps and learn methods to rewire your brain. For example, people with OCD are very hard to treat. And it used to be like either medication or therapy, talk therapy, etc. But the neuroscience world says that what happens with OCD, I'm just using this as an example, and this is just information that I've read. I'm not a doctor or a psychologist. But when you start having these patterns emerge, you need to change your activity, not to sit in and try to think about it. Literally go do something. If you play guitar or a musical instrument, go pick up that instrument. If you, whatever it is you do, if it's video games, whatever, do that activity, because what happens is that breaks the cycle. Because what happens is you get a circuit in your brain, and that is what keeps the OCD or the anxiety going. So what you need to do is not sit and think, why am I feeling this? Stop. No, you just break the circuit, and that over time rewires your brain. And I believe that same method works with depression. People get into like this, it's widely studied and widely known about depression, is that you start to get into these faulty thinking patterns when you're depressed. And so you have to break that pattern, and then it in time can rewire your brain. And I think the neuroscience model, that's why behaviorism is used for people with severe issues. So not just changing your thinking, but changing your behaviors, because that breaks the cycle and the patterns and supposedly rewires your brain. So TMS might do the same thing, rewiring circuits. But I think that is more effective, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, than psych meds.
Sounds good.
No, and that's true. The same thing for ADHD. My oldest son had ADHD. He was very hyperactive, and I was very against drugs. And we got him a behavioralist, and I did a lot of research. And there's diets for that too. That if you take certain things out of their diet, again, it goes back to clean eating. It goes back to taking all the processed out. You really do see an effective change.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on this. It's what the Wicked Witch is talking about is EMDR, and it's it's eye movement desensitization. EMDR, yeah, it's eye movement desensitization something. It's basically, they use this device, and it's supposed to help with trauma. So people get stuck from trauma. What it does is it gets you stuck in a certain state, and like PTSD and things like that, or types of trauma, gets you mentally frozen in this like trauma state. And EMDR is supposed to help. It's been studied neurologically through this rapid eye movement therapy. I can't try to remember what it stands for. It's eye movement desensitization something. It's eye movement desensitization and reorganization, I think. And it basically, it's supposed to help reorganize your thoughts. So the way they do it is, if you were in therapy, you would be doing it. Okay, yeah, I was close. It helps you. So what they do is, because I studied, I was going to school to become a psychotherapist. It's basically you would be talking with someone and they would be holding a device, or they would have a device. There's probably all different types of devices that get your cause eye movement. And through something with your brain, the wiring of your brain, the rapid eye movement, they would have you talk about traumatic experiences and things like that, and then reframe it while you're getting the EMDR. And it's used to treat trauma and PTSD and stuff. Yeah, it desensitizes you and helps reorganize the way that you interpret the trauma that you had. Yeah, so anyway, I know a little bit about that. I mean, there's a lot of things I've learned just from my own health struggles and dealing with my own life traumas and stuff, because I lost both my parents at a relatively young age, and I didn't come from the type of background where you would talk about things or go to therapy. And all right, Wicked Witch, thanks for popping in. Thank you so much. Yeah, please, everybody, like and subscribe. I'm neglectful when it comes to reminding people we got to build it up.
I think also fasting is a good thing to do.
Fasting?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
it resets the body. Cleans out.
I know what you're talking about. I've just recently talked, George St. Pierre is the famous UFC fighter.
Yeah.
He just had a guy on his podcast within the last week or so who's like an expert in fasting, and they were talking about it.
I saw these two twins, these guys, big guys, did a fasting journey. And I think it was, may not have been 40 days. No, I think it was like 2 weeks. It was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I do intermittent fasting.
I do too.
And it's supposed to do a lot of things, right? It helps
kills the old cells and regenerates new cells.
Yeah, it helps with regeneration, and it also can heal your gut if you have
inflammation,
digestive issues, and there's a lot of. I mean,
But they don't tell you this, JJ. They keep all the natural cures for us. They're there. They just are keeping it hidden. Just take these pills. You'll be fine. Take these pills.
Yeah, well, that's because there's a lot of money behind that.
Of course.
That's why, in my opinion, they make healthy food so expensive, because they don't want us out of that pharmaceutical model. They want to keep us all roped into it, where you take a pill to solve everything. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that there are no benefits from medical treatments. That's not. I'm not saying this all or nothing type of thing. But what happens is people tend to rely too much on external sources rather than lifestyle changes, because guess what? It's a lot easier to take a pill
and continue
to do the hard work and change your lifestyle. Look, we're getting close to wrap up time here. We're going on 3 hours. So I wanted to talk about this one thing. But if you think about, we have stuff that have information that's been spoon-fed to us, right? About, like, you talked about the food groups when we were young and all these different things. It's hard to change the fundamental aspects of lifestyle, because, for example, we all know you age, your metabolism slows down. You go through hormonal changes, your metabolism changes, your body changes, and so on. Your moods change. People, it's shocking to me how so many people, they get older and they work out, they do yoga or they go to the gym, but they don't look that fit. unless they're really knowledgeable about health and fitness. You have to eat less when you get older. Your body doesn't need as many calories. So people get stuck in this, like, they just change their diet. But you have to realize when you age, you need less calories. Now, if you're a competitive athlete, that's different. You need more calories. But if you want to really be healthy, you have to change your lifestyle when you get older and change the things that you do and change your diet to accommodate. There's no getting around general aging, but you still, oh, wait, I want to make sure I didn't miss somebody. Okay. So you have to make those changes, but it takes discipline, and people develop habits that are hard to change. So they don't do that. And they just stay drinking too much or eating too much. But because they work out, they think, all right, I'm cool, I work out, you know. You also have to pay more attention to your diet when you get older. All right, so, you know, this stream tonight didn't go anywhere near where I thought it was going to go. We barely touched on the things I had talked about discussing in the beginning, but that's because, you know, I go where the flow is. Yeah, please join the Discord, like and subscribe, and let us know some other topics. And also, I'm always going to do sort of anything goes streams.
But this was great, JJ. I think you covered a lot of good information that everybody's interested in that are not widely talked about.
Yeah, and also I think if we transition and we end up start doing like a Wednesday night thing, after we can either use that as a topic specific stream, and then when we do, we'll definitely have streams or pre-recorded videos that are more focused on a topic, you know. But when we do the lives, I like to be able to go and talk about what people want to talk about, you know, and then that can change the direction of things, and I'm cool with that. I don't mind doing that. So, all right. Yeah, thank you, Lulu. Look, I like that everybody is into sharing different ideas and steering the conversation in different ways. You know, as long as we're able to expand on different ideas. And thanks to ePotty and Motoman MX for coming up. And I appreciate everybody that joined and has been contributing. And I'm doing my best. I'm gonna get better at dealing with the chat, and also I'm gonna really start working on presenting information and visuals and things like that. I had some visuals. Let's just to show you guys that I had an agenda tonight. I had that. I had the alien one, the topic, and I had the Idaho 4 one. I even had a little 2-page thing regarding the alien thing. See? I do some planning. It's just the chat wanted to go in different directions. So, all right, I think we're about at 3 hours now. And so, Philly, stay on backstage after, okay?
Yep, I'm here.
After I end it, just stay backstage.
ePotty, I'll post that song for you in Discord because I had a special song for ePotty that I'm going to play for him in Discord.
And also, we'll do coming up very soon, because it seems like a lot of people. Thank you, lovely me. Thanks to everybody, sincerely. We'll do a music episode where we'll talk about music, because I could talk about music all night. So thank you, Foxy. I appreciate it. I really appreciate everybody popping in, and we could talk about all kinds of stuff. I'm interested in a lot of different stuff, and it seems like a lot of the people, Philly's interested in a lot of different stuff, and ePotty, and so many people seem to have a lot of diverse interests, which is what I like, because I like to talk about a lot of different stuff. So yeah, I thank you to everybody, and I apologize if I didn't get to say hello to anybody or missed comments and stuff, but we'll get better at that stuff going forward. All right, well, look, with that, we're at 3 hours. It's 9 o'clock my time. Thank you so much to everybody, and I'm gonna have, we'll see what happens, because Wednesday is gonna be tough. I'm probably not gonna be on Birdie because I'm traveling that day, and I'll be cutting it close. Yeah, good night to the Stadies. Thank you for joining the Deep State, everybody. But like next week, Saturday I'm planning, and Sunday to do lives. If I can get a pre-recorded video out, at least one in the next few days, I will do at least one, probably two. And we'll post in the community tab and on the what's it called, Discord, like upcoming topics for the next week. All right, well, that's gonna do it, everybody. Thanks again. Pay attention, stay awake out there, and I'll see you guys soon.